All right, so let me introduce myself. My name is John. I am the operations manager here at Elite Prep. I used to be the associate director at the Arcadia office, as well as the assistant director at the San Diego office. I've been working in college consulting and working for Elite for the past 8 years. Loved every year of it. I'm very excited to share what I've learned with all of you. And extracurriculars is actually something that I'm very passionate about. That's probably the thing that I find the most exciting, rewarding, and fun to work with students on. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start off with a survey. So if you can actually go to menti.com, you can use your phone, you can use your computer, just open a new browser window, go to menti.com and enter code 73912, 73912. Awesome, looks like some of you guys are there. If you're on the page, go ahead and hit that thumbs up or heart button, and we'll know that you guys are getting to where you're supposed to be. Awesome. Wow, 200 thumbs up. I feel very popular right now. Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to get to our first question. So Menti, by the way, is a completely anonymous online survey tool. However you answer, it won't be recorded. Not that we're going to be asking personal questions anyway. So let's go ahead and begin. Our first question is, before COVID-19, how many hours did you spend on extracurriculars per week? So this is just on average. So before COVID-19, we're talking about when things were normal, when everything was quote unquote good. So how many hours per week did you spend on extracurriculars? This could include clubs at school, sports, student government, volunteering, attending youth groups, speech and debate, robotics, engineering, anything that is not directly related to your academics. Wow, okay. So we have almost a very nice spread of results from all of you. We have almost 500 of you voted so far, so that's great to see. So this is what you did before COVID-19 happened, before the pandemic. Let's see what it's looking like now. So the next question is, now, how many hours do you spend on extracurriculars per week? And this is why we're having this seminar today. I know all of us are in the same boat, staying at home and obeying safer at home orders as we should be. But the cost of that is not being able to do the things that we used to do, at least in the ways that we were used to doing them. So yeah, the results, nothing surprising here, even though we had a very broad distribution for the first question. Now, a lot of those activities have changed, and understandably so. All right, so the next question is, what do you think colleges look at the most when considering a student's application? So go ahead and rank the 7 criteria below. It's going to take probably a minute for you to do this, but what do you think colleges look at the most in terms of trying to assess students fit for college, readiness for college, and admissions? This almost feels like we're at a horse race. Lead keeps changing. Well, the lead is GPA. There's no question about that. Close second is SAT and ACT scores, number of AP classes, leadership, personal statements, extracurriculars, you name it. So concern for others. Some of you may be wondering, what is that? I've never heard of that. What does that even mean? Concern for others is exactly what it sounds like. And what its role is in the college admissions process may surprise you. So let me go ahead and share with you some findings, and we'll head back to our presentation. So thank you everyone for participating. Appreciate it. We're gonna head back to the presentation. So if you can switch back to your Zoom screen, that would be great. So as we've established, some of you used to swim, volunteer, you fill in the blank. You used to do all sorts of activities, but you can't do that anymore because COVID-19 has changed everything. But I'm here to tell you today that just because COVID-19 has changed everything doesn't mean it's necessarily for the worst, at least in terms of the opportunities that you have today. Because as you saw from the earlier slide, you're not the only one who had his or her activities stop abruptly. Everyone did. And so what COVID-19 has actually done is it's created a great need for students to step up at this time. The world has stopped. Streets are empty, businesses are closed, schools are all closed doing distance learning. But that's precisely why now is the time for you to get moving. Turning the Tide is a report that was put out by the Harvard Graduate School of Education, originally in 2016, but most recently in 2019. 140 colleges and universities have signed on to the Turning the Tide letter of intent, which basically says that they want to emphasize the importance of inspiring concern for others and the common good in the admissions process. So these are colleges like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, the University of Pennsylvania, Cornell. Every single one of these schools have said that they want to see students who are making a difference in their community, who are doing things that may or may not be easy to quantify, but are just as important as those other quantifiable metrics like GPA and test scores. There's never been a greater need for students to engage in meaningful service than right now. The world needs students like you to step up and fill in the gap for what's been left by COVID-19. And also, that means that there's never been a greater opportunity for students to do good. And we're going to talk about how you can come up with projects to pursue during this time of stay at home, as well as some ideas to get you going. But first, let's talk about something that's very important. When you're approaching something like this, which is something that you've probably never done before, most of the times students do activities at school that are already created. You join a club that already exists, you join a sports team that's been around for years. Sometimes students create their own clubs and initiatives, and that's awesome. But that's not really what everyone does by default. So I want to talk to you very, very briefly about two different mindsets. We have fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. Very simply, a fixed mindset is going to respond to this COVID-19 situation of how can I do extracurriculars in the time of COVID-19 with, well, I can't because, and whatever those reasons may be. But here at Elite, we want to really encourage everyone to adopt what's called a growth mindset, which asks, I can, but how? So the fundamental difference is wanting to solve the problem that's in front of us, wanting to find out what is it that our communities need, what is it that we can do to make a difference, especially in this extremely trying time for not just the US, but the entire world. So this summer, almost all programs and camps have been canceled. All the things that you had lined up, the things that you're planning to do, most of those plans have probably changed. Colleges, of course, know this. Their own summer programs have been canceled. So they are very aware that summer programs are not happening at anywhere near the rate that they used to, or in the way that they used to. So colleges are not going to be asking, which open summer program did you find? The answer to this situation is not to just keep Googling until you find a summer program that's open and then hope to attend it. That's not what colleges want you to do. That's not what colleges expect you to do. However, colleges will be asking, so what did you do about this situation? One of our speakers from past series, Mr. Randolph, he spoke about how he was how he has experience with Berkeley and their admissions office, and something that they always emphasize in their admissions process is trying to gauge what students made of the opportunities that were available to them, what students made of the resources that were available to them. This summer, a lot of those resources, the ones that you default to, are gone. They're just not available. So for the students who are able to step up during this time and do something, to have the growth mindset of I can, but how, those are the students who are going to stand out. Those are the students who, when the application hits the reader's desk, it's going to jump off the page, because instead of saying, well, I couldn't because COVID, they're going to be able to show what they did because of COVID. And that's a very key difference. So you might be asking, well, okay, well, how do I know if I'm doing the right activities? How do I know if what I'm thinking about doing is a good idea? My answer to that is asking about the right activities is actually the wrong question. It's not about which activity you do, it's about why and how you do it. A lot of the programs that you were trying to do this summer, whether it's researching at a university, attending an entrepreneurship camp or leadership summit, those options are not available. So what's important is not the program that you were going to go to, but what's important is what underlying value does that activity or program represent? What underlying value does that activity or program represent? Let's take a look at an example. Say that you were scheduled to volunteer this summer at the hospital, a pretty common activity that a lot of students engage in. It's a great thing to do. There's two questions that we have to ask. Why did you do it? And how did you do it? For why did you do it? Is it because you wanted to look good for college? Because you want to be a doctor and you want to see what healthcare industry is like? Or is it because you want to help people? To be honest, it's going to be a mix of all three. If you say it's just to look good for college or just because you want to help people, I very much doubt that it's just going to be one of those reasons. It's going to be a mix of those three, and that's okay. But what I'm hoping is that by volunteering at the hospital, you do have an underlying value of wanting to help people, because that's essentially what doctors do. And I don't think we've really seen any other time in recent history than now where doctors, healthcare workers are laying their lives on the line day after day to, at the end of the day, help people. That's what it comes down to. So if your underlying value is to help people, the challenge is what activity can you do now that demonstrates that same value? Colleges are not going to hold it against you that you didn't volunteer at the hospital this summer. In fact, if you volunteer at the hospital this summer, they might hold that against you because you're supposed to be at home. But what you can do to set yourself apart is to still demonstrate that value, that you care for others, that you want to help others. And there are many, many ways that you can demonstrate that value, even if it's not volunteering at the hospital. The second question is, how did you do it? In what capacity did you serve? Did you work the visitor desk? Did you work directly with patients? What did you learn from these interactions? What did you do in response to what you learned? These are the key questions that colleges want to hear more about. They want to know what you did and how you did it. And what we want to focus with our activity recommendations for you is to think about the why and the how over the what, especially in light of current circumstances. So this is something that I'm not sure if many of you have heard about or are aware of, but it's a Japanese phrase called ikigai. So let me tell you a little bit of history about this word and how it came to prominence. National Geographic years ago did a study on what are called blue zones. Blue zones are concentrated geographic areas where there are a lot of centenarians. Centenarians are people who live to be over 100 years old. There's a blue zone in Loma Linda. There's a blue zone in Italy. There's a blue zone in this case, Japan, in Okinawa. And so these researchers went to Okinawa to figure out why so many people there live to be over 100 years old. Was it their diet? Is it their genetics? Is it environmental factors? And what they found was really interesting. It was partially those things, but the one thing that each of those centenarians had in common was this concept of ikigai, which means a reason for waking up in the morning. Or in other words, a central purpose, a core value. And so ikigai is a way for you to think about your activities and why you do them. And this applies for students, adults alike. So the 4 circles are what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. Now, if you find what you love and what you're good at, you have a passion. If you find what you love and what you're good at, you have a passion. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's what the world needs or what you can be paid for. If you find what you're good at and what you can be paid for, that's a profession or a job. If you find what you can be paid for and what the world needs, you have a vocation. And if you find what you love and what the world needs, then you have a mission. And ikigai is that rare center of those circles where you have what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. Now, in terms of how this applies to you, you can pretty much ignore the bottom circle, what you can be paid for. That's really not our focus here. Of course, if you have a job, that's great. That's actually, that's a great thing in and of itself, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about extracurriculars. And so we're going to talk about how you can ikigai or bring the concept of ikigai to your extracurriculars. And it comes down to 3 simple questions. And these are questions that I ask my students whenever we start working with students and trying to get to know their interests and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. I always ask them these 3 questions. And that is, what do you like? What are you good at? And how can you use that to help others? This is not revolutionary by any means. I'm not trying to take credit for this quote unquote discovery, but it is such a fundamental part of finding what you should be doing for your activities in preparation for college, and also discovering your interests and passions to be able to answer these 3 questions. And so going back to the question of, is there a right activity? What do colleges look for? What looks good for colleges? All those questions go out the door when you bring in this mindset. What do you like? What are you good at? How can you use that to help others? If you can find something that answers these 3 questions, you don't have to worry about whether it's the right activity. It is the right activity. And by nature of you doing it excellently, that is what's going to help you stand out. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you are answering these 3 questions. So right now, the key is not to think, okay, how can I do what I did before COVID-19 happened? That chapter, for all intensive purposes, is closed, at least for now. Hopefully it's going to be lifted sooner than later, but for now, that's not an option. Instead, you want to ask yourself again, what are the core values that underlay the activities that you used to do? And how can I demonstrate those core values while obeying stay-at-home orders? So my challenge to you is, I believe that every single activity that you did, every single one before COVID-19, can be done, but in a different way right now. And the key is to focus on those values and to have a growth mindset over a fixed mindset. And the kicker is, if you can find a way to do it right now, then you are going to set yourself apart from everyone else who's going to be applying in your grade, because as you saw from the first slide, from the survey results, no one is really doing a lot of activities right now because a lot of the previous options that you used to do have changed. So if you are able to do something while others are not, then just by default, you are going to stand out. And plus, the way in which you do it is going to be different because you're not just going to be following a template that someone else laid, but you're going to have to figure out, what do I care about? What am I good at? What am I skilled at? And how can I use that to help others? And we're going to look at a couple examples of what students did so that you can get an idea, perhaps, for what you can do yourself. So here is one of my favorite projects that I worked on with my students. So I'm not sure if you know, but here at Elite, obviously we do test prep. That's what we're known for. But really, Elite is a college prep company. Our goal is not to prepare you for the SAT or the ACT. That would be a very, frankly, boring and short-sighted goal. Our goal is to prepare you for college. That's really what we are experts at. Test prep is one of those things, but really what we care about is helping students to find their passions, their visions, and help them to make it a reality. And that's something that I was able to do with one of my students in helping her to put together this book, which is Hannah and Arnie. So Hannah and Arnie is a project that one of my students did last year, in which we asked, what are your passions? What do you care about? What are some skills that you have? And the thing that she was most passionate about is advocating for and speaking for undocumented immigrants. She just had a huge heart for them ever since that she was studying in her social science class, sophomore year, junior year, watching the news, seeing everything that was happening with the border wall being constructed and migrant families being separated from their children. And this is just something that she was really passionate about, but she wasn't in speech and debate. She wasn't part of her local city council. She wasn't part of any advisory boards. So she didn't really feel like she had the ability to do anything. So I asked her, so Nancy, then what are some things that you're good at? What are some of your talents? And she said that she liked to draw. And after I saw some of her drawings, it was clear that she was definitely very talented and skilled. And so together, we set on putting this project together, in which she wrote and illustrated her own children's book, raised $3,000 on Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding website, got support from over 109 people, was named Project We Love. And most importantly, she was able to make her dream a reality. I don't know if you can see on my screen, but this is the book that she made. I got an autographed copy, which I'm very proud to have. And it was just so rewarding to be able to see her make her dream come to life. And to be clear, she did all the work herself. As her counselor at Elite, obviously I was there to help her, guide her, ask her the right questions, as well as use Elite's connections to connect her with. We have a college fair every year called the Elite Vision Expo. We are still going to have it this summer in a different format, obviously, but it's still going to come. And so we were able to connect her with one of the LA Superior Court judges, Judge Tim Saito, longtime friend of Elite, loves working with Elite students. And we were able to get her connected to the Asian Americans Advancing Justice Association. They were able to promote the book, help her to brainstorm it, and really bring this project to life. And what I love about this is that this was completely her work. And this is something that she would say too, that she would not have done unless she had the platform to do so. And so this is something that you can do as well. Not saying that you have to create a children's book, not say that you have to get it crowdfunded, but these are the things that you can do from home. You don't need to be a part of a large organization to accomplish a passion project, as long as it's something that you really care about. Another student that we worked with last year, she did a project where she made enamel pins to demonstrate the power of STEM and design, or STEAM, as you might call it, as well as business. She raised $5,000 for her Kickstarter and was able to make this a fundamental part of her college applications. And the reason I bring up these projects is that these are things that happened not over the course of years and years, but each of these students started these projects in June or July of their senior year. So right before they were about to start senior year, that's when they began these projects. They wanted to demonstrate to colleges what they're passionate about, what they care about, and they found a way to do it. And this is something that we would love to help you do as well. No matter what your passion is, no matter what your vision is, Elite wants to try to help make it a reality. But to jumpstart the ideas and to get you going, we do have 40 ways that you can volunteer during COVID-19. 40 ways you can volunteer during COVID-19. The first one, as you can see, is sew face masks for healthcare workers. I just want to give a shout out to my wife. Stayed up last night sewing this face mask. She's going to be really upset that I showed you guys because she's not very happy with how it turned out. But this is the example of something that you can do while at home, even under quarantine. If you care about helping others, if you want to help people who are on the front line fighting COVID-19 and treating patients who are suffering from it, then that's one way that you can help. There's 40 different ways. We're not going to go through all of them. As you know, as you may know, this recording is going to be made available to you afterwards. And also, these are just the ideas, but if you want practical tips and steps and guidelines for how to make any of these or your own project a reality, then definitely reach out to your Elite counselor. They're a wealth of information. They have so many things that they can share with you. We've worked with thousands and thousands of students, tens of thousands of students over the years, and we know what works and what doesn't, and we want to help you. But just to get you jump-started, these are 40 ways that you can volunteer, show your concern for others, show that you have an underlying value of caring for the public good during COVID-19. And actually right now, I just wanted to open this up for a quick Q&A of, for those of you who are still doing extracurriculars, what are you doing like right now? Those of you that mentioned on the Menti survey that you are still doing extracurriculars, I want to hear what you're doing, whether it's arranging a grocery service to pick up groceries for the elderly or the vulnerable in your community, whether it's trying to, like my wife did, sew face masks so that you can provide it for healthcare workers. What is it that you're doing right now? Ooh, awesome. Someone is starting a website as a mental health resource for teens during quarantine. I think that's amazing. That is awesome. I really, really respect that. Thank you for sharing that. Someone is planning on writing a book and self-publishing with their teacher about chasing passions in traditional culture. That's fantastic. I mean, that's exciting. That gets me really excited to read about. Let's see. Creating infographics that teach teens more about COVID and how to prevent themselves and others from getting the virus. I think that's so important. Yeah, that's great. Love that. Dance classes held over Zoom. Wow. I can't say that that's something that I would be able to do. So I'm very glad that you're offering it. So thank you for sharing that. Someone sewed face masks during spring break. That's great. Teaching Java to middle and high school students. That's awesome. Leading Bible studies for second graders at church. That's great. Someone's creating an app. I mean, this is why we love Elite students. You guys are awesome. That's what it comes down to. And that actually brings us up to our next point. So thank you very much for sharing. Keep on sending them in through the Q&A. We want to hear what you guys are doing. Thank you very, very much. But yeah, we're going to just keep moving for the sake of time. So the question is, what could you be doing right now? Identify your core values. What do you like? What are you good at? How can you use it to help others? Develop that growth mindset. Ask, how can I, rather than start with, I can't. And speak with an Elite counselor, because as I mentioned earlier, we're here to help. We want to help you achieve your goals. We want to help you make your passion projects a reality. And to be clear, we will not do things for you. We are here to support you, guide you, connect you with our network, connect you with our resources, and also, because we've been doing this for so long, point you in the right direction, because sometimes students have an idea of what they think quote unquote, would look good for colleges. But again, remember, that's not the right way that you want to approach this question. But we will try to help you find the most effective way to demonstrate your talents and skills in meaningful ways. And actually, that brings me to, I think, my most exciting part of this presentation, which is that Elite is very, very proud and excited to announce that we've partnered with the Center for Future Global Leaders to bring you 3 things that you, Elite students, can do right now. So CFGL is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to raise up the leaders of tomorrow. That's as basic as it gets, but it's as important as it gets. And CFGL recognizes that elite students are some of the best students at their school, if not the best. And so CFGL wants to partner with us, wants to tap into the wealth of students that Elite has, and through us, host this competition, 3 competitions: Spirit of Service, the Young Leaders Essay Contest, and the Young Artists Contests. So there are 3 different ways that you can do something right now. And the great thing about competitions and contests is we're gonna have multiple winners. We're gonna have support for you to be able to submit. Let me go ahead and pull up the website so that you guys can see on the CFGL website what these competitions entail. So the Spirit of Service contest. Spirit of Service is all about exactly what we talked about during this presentation, which is giving students an opportunity to pursue something that they're passionate about, something that they're talented in, and something that's going to help others, and to make that a reality. So Elite is sponsoring this competition, and CFGL is going to award up to 5 grants of $1,000 each to students who are able to come up with the proposal of what they could be doing during this time of stay-at-home, safer-at-home orders, during this time of COVID-19. So projects, as you can see, must be achievable, must be collaborative, must be measurable, distance serving compatible, helpful, specific, and scalable. So very, very excited to bring you this competition in partnership with CFGL. This is something that's only open to elite students. So that's our way of thanking you for trusting us with your college prep and for allowing us to help you and get to know you. And in addition to the Spirit of Service contest, we do have other contests as well. There's a Young Leaders Essay Contest and a Young Artist Contest. And so go ahead and check out the website. We're going to email you the website later. It's cfgltoday.org. But after this session is over, we're going to email you a link with this recording, as well as a link to the competition website. And also this summer, very, very exciting, Elite is partnering with CFGL to bring you opportunities to participate in these projects backed by the CFGL over the summer. So Elite, we want to solve students' problems. We want to help you where you need help. And one of the most requested things that students have been asking this past month, ever since we had the quarantine orders, is what can I do with my activities? What can I do with extracurriculars? So Elite has been working very hard to partner with CFGL to bring you extracurricular opportunities this summer. So if you're an Elite student this summer, if you're attending our boot camp, if you're attending any of our programs, which for now are scheduled to go online, and we are 100% ready to go online. We're already teaching all of our classes online as well. And then the moment that we're able to offer the offline classes, you'll have the chance to do that if you'd like to. But most importantly, all of these opportunities are distance serving friendly, meaning that it's designed so that you can do it remotely. We want you to be able to volunteer, contribute in meaningful ways from exactly where you are. So when we ask that survey again at the end of summer, I'm really hoping that we don't see the majority of students in that first column spending 0 to 5 hours a week on extracurriculars. We want to move students in powerful ways and meaningful ways, in ways that they want to be moved in passion projects that they want to pursue. So that's something that we're very excited to be offering this summer. Leadership opportunities, planning virtual college and career fairs, and importantly, collaborating with other students from not only your school, but other schools and even other states. So this is very exciting. We're very excited to be able to share this with you guys, and we'll have obviously more information available as we get closer to summer. So just a few things to leave you with. You've heard it said, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. This is something that I heard when I was in college, and it's something that stuck with me for a long time because I realized the intent of what it's saying. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But in light of what's happened these days, I think that what might be a more appropriate thing to say is, if you do what you love, you'll find the strength to keep doing it, even in the face of adversity. And that's the challenge that all of us at Elite have for you. Even though the world has stopped in many ways, even though your extracurricular activities, your clubs, your sports are not available to you in the way that they used to be, we want to challenge you to find things that you care about, to find things that resonate with your core values, and to keep doing it, because the world needs you guys right now. And that's exactly what colleges are going to be looking for this fall. They want to see difference makers, world changers, people who don't accept the status quo, people who demonstrate that they're not just going to stop when things get inconvenient, but the things that they care about, they're going to keep doing. And that's how you're going to set yourself apart from everyone else. So that's it. That's all we have for you today. If you have any questions, I'll try to take a few right now through the Q&A. All right. So a question that came up is, because schools are not treating grades necessarily the same for second semester, as you may have heard, some schools right now are offering pass-fail classes. Some schools are giving out whatever grade you had before COVID-19 happened. Some schools are doing distance learning and trying to continue as normal as possible. So in light of that, do extracurriculars become more important? Do things like SAT scores become more important? I would answer to that question definitely yes. So the college application process is one where the readers are trying to take in all the information that they're given and make a decision from it. Some of that crucial information is not going to be available in the same way that it used to be because the second semester grades for schools is going to be, it's going to be inconsistent. There's no other way around it. And so I definitely believe that doing meaningful extracurriculars and doing things that you didn't do before can definitely help you to stand out. And test scores are also going to be very important too, because without grades to anchor your intellectual / academic potential, standardized test scores, by the way, they are not perfect. Everyone knows they're not perfect. They're flawed. It doesn't predict whether or not you're going to be successful in college, but it is an important tool that colleges use to gauge just your academic aptitude and also your, especially when it comes to reading, your reading abilities and your ability to do college level reading. So the announcement that UC's made about the SAT going test optional this fall, it is true. The SAT is optional for current juniors, not sophomores, not freshmen, but for current juniors this fall, the SAT is optional. But what we want to make a very clear point about is test optional is not the same as test blind. If a school says they're test blind, that means that if you submit your score to them, they won't even look at it. So they really, really don't consider your test. But if a school is saying test optional, what they're saying is that if you submit your score, they are going to look at it, they are going to consider it. And if you have two students with similar GPAs, one student is submitting a test score, a high test score, and the other one isn't, that's information that the application reader has to take into consideration. So it is still definitely important for you to do test prep and studying this summer. Not saying that you have to do it with Elite. You can definitely do it on your own. There's other online resources available. But we are obviously, we have a very strong belief in what we provide for our students. Us going online isn't going to change that. In fact, there are going to be things that we can do online that we couldn't do before. So definitely need to still take your your SATs, and try to do extracurriculars that'll help you to stand out. Let's see, other questions. Is it worth taking SAT subject tests? I would argue in terms of the test hierarchy, subject tests are not as important. Colleges have been saying for years that they're not required, it's optional. Now that the May and the June SAT were canceled, it's even more optional. So if you're gonna focus your time on doing something, I would say definitely put your time into studying for the SAT or the ACT. Those are gonna be important. Question is, what if we aren't enrolled in Elite yet? Can we still do the summer extracurriculars that are offered? So as long as you enroll in a summer program, obviously before the summer starts, then you will be eligible to do those programs. Those programs, those clubs, if you will, are gonna start during the summer. And so as long as you're a summer student, then you will have access to those opportunities. Let's see. Oh, if you only need a couple $100 rather than $1,000, can you still enter the contest? Absolutely. It's not going to increase your chances of winning. Elite/CFGL, we're committed to sponsoring and giving the grants up to the full amount, so that's not the issue. But yes, if you can be efficient, if you can be cost efficient with your dollars, then absolutely. That's a great thing that you can do, and a great practice for the future as well. All right, so we don't have time to go over any other questions right now. I do apologize for that. But your Elite counselors are very, very eager and excited to speak with you and help you. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone has different questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your Elite counselor. We will be sending out an email after this session with a link to the recording, as well as a link to the CFGL website so that you can learn more about the competitions. I am very excited to see what our students are going to come up with in terms of how they're going to make a difference in the community. And thank you everyone for joining. Please come back next week for the next installment of the Road to Success College Prep series. And yes, thank you everyone for coming. Have a great day.